So we are going to be talking to a lot of people from out the industry, and especially the Chicago area as well, who've got a background and experience inside of electrification. And today we're joined by the co-founder and CEO of Kootanla, Ladi Ogunnubi. Ladi, how you doing, dude?
I'm well. Thank you for the time today. Glad to be here and really looking forward to this conversation.
So number one, first question, Kootanla. When was it founded and what does it mean? Tell us what it is. We need to know.
Absolutely. So Kootanla is, I'll start with the name actually. The name is founded on a Yoruba phrase, Nigerian language, that goes Okutanla, which means big solid rock. And so as a faith-driven businessman, I did that from the standpoint of Christ as my solid rock, but then also founded on the solutions we provide, solid solutions and services for the energy industry.
That's a solid branding backstory. That's awesome. Okay.
Absolutely. And so what we do is we actually are problem solvers. We're all about making the world better one problem at a time. And we do that by actually finding the right problem and offering data-driven tech solutions to that. Our flagship product is about to launch, and it's focused on actually optimizing the investments that inform the waves of electrification of vehicles and other trends that we're seeing in the energy sector. All, again, to making sure we drive towards that cleaner, brighter energy future.
Yeah, okay.
Well, so on that, sorry, go ahead.
So tell me a little bit more about, so are you working on the OEM EV side, or are you working on the electrification infrastructure side?
More on the infrastructure side. So that's really about, really one of the problems I've seen is the opportunity to improve the process as it relates to how a utility and the customers and the commissions organize to planning waves of investment, because that's what happens. Regulated monopolies go through a cycle, a rate case cycle, a grid investment planning that has to happen annually, in some cases over multi-year horizons. And so what needs to take place is a lot of back and forth around the investment proposals, around how much should be spent on transformers or wood poles or infrastructure to support electrification. And so what we are trying to do is leverage the history of investments that have ever taken place as a means to give perspective for future investments. So we're gathering all that data, collecting it. We have some data engineering going on in place to then drive intelligence for what to do next.
As I hear you describe that, it just makes me think to myself, okay, this is where people just go home, power works, they just kind of take it for granted, right? But what you're describing, though, is how are we spending investment dollars wisely to make sure that the results are actually bringing real results, not just a kind of like checkbox, we got something done, we did a ribbon cutting or something. It's like, no, we need to know that the dollars being spent, especially if they're ratepayer dollars. If that's a utility customer who's like, where's my money going? What you're pointing to is saying, we can say that whether you are a homeowner taking advantage of these electrification things or a renter or something like that, we want to make sure those dollars being invested from the utility side are having a positive and real tangible impact.
Exactly, and the perspective that informed the idea was when I was having my baby, my first girl.
This has got way more interesting.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, let's go.
So, go on.
So when we were having her, this was in 2023 January timeframe, but leading up to that, it was our first child. We had no idea what it looks like to go through that process, right? You can get the perspective from people, but it's never...
Got to live it.
That's definitely a hands-on learned experience.
Yeah.
And so, so one of the ideas that came to mind, especially when it came down to costs, was wouldn't it be great if we had like this national database of the cost of deliveries, like itemized for all babies ever born? I know it's not going to necessarily say how much I will spend, but it will be great for perspective before I get the $50K ticket or whatever.
Oh, right. I was about to say, like, yeah, the insurance company's like, we really don't want you seeing this up front. Like, we really don't want it happening. No, but no, it's like visibility and transparency into what are the costs for living. That could be energy, that could be just family, that could be a lot of things. So that was kind of the inception or inspiration behind you saying, well, there's a lot that went into this, and based on your background, because you've been in utilities prior to founding Kootanla. You were in utilities for how long?
So that I was at ComMed and Exelon for about a decade. And before then, just doing my master's in business and engineering at U of I. And before then, in the defense sector, still doing some electronics, electrical engineering, and system stuff. So yeah, about 15, 20 years experience all around. And it's really just all foundational to how I think as well. Just put things in the form of input, system, output, and gather all the inputs that could help for a better outcome. Impacting people really in the community, really.
Okay. So very community driven, very, how do we get this done? So I gotta say, I've got 3 kids, right? So I totally understand that. How much is this really gonna cost me, right? So when I switched from gas vehicles to EV, it was pretty easy for me because I was already in the industry. I was already driving test vehicles. So I didn't really have to look at, okay, how is this infrastructure going to affect me? Because it was my job paying for the install, my job putting in that charger. But what about somebody who's looking at getting an EV for the very first time? How do they look at this, and how does a utility look at it at that point?
That's a good question. So I could speak even personally around this. So from the personal side, and then I'll go to the utility side. So from a personal side, the big factor in getting the EV is one, cost, and then the comfort, right? What am I paying, both at the point of purchase, and then convenience? How does the experience look? That's usually what it comes down to. What, in light of my experience and understanding, I know it's bigger than just a point of purchase price, right? Because there's huge savings as you think about lower maintenance and the total cost of ownership as it's thought about around owning the vehicle for 5, 10 years, maybe even longer if you want.
Well, and that's a good point, because the different mindset, that point of purchase piece is, people have just kind of naturally accepted that gas cars are expensive. Yeah. It's like I really want that brand, I really want that model. It's a coveted product. They buy it emotionally, and we, for decades as consumers, we've just kind of accepted, like, and that's going to come with this could break, that could go bad, that requires maintenance, and we just kind of say it's a sunk cost. And we don't even calculate it, we just accept the fact that it's there. But to your point, that component has fundamentally gotten flipped on its head, because the moment you do make that decision at that purchase point to say, I'm going electric, it is a completely different path when it comes to your wallet.
Absolutely. And so that's a big factor even for me, because I don't own an EV yet, by the way, I should confess that.
Okay.
But that is a big
it's
factor.
Also got more interesting. Like
GreenCars right next door.
I was going to say, right here, you can take advantage,
No, that's why I even love an event like this, because it is about the education. For us, it was more about the decisioning around the finances in the moment in time, right? But we are now at a point where we can make that decision. And by the way, quick plug, there are incentives, right? There are huge incentives. Federal level, if you get a new one at $7,500 or something like that.
Up until September 30th.
Up until September 30th.
Yeah, if you were here shopping, you got what is it? Today's the 13th. Yeah, you don't have much time.
Right.
A little over 2 weeks.
And then Illinois also has 4,000 or so.
That one may not have current funding because it's state-based. So I think that one is currently out of funding round.
Gotcha.
But if you're a homeowner, you can get rebates for EV charging from ComEd.
Look at that. So yeah, all these things are huge factors in the decisioning. Now on the utility side, to answer your question, I think it's really about fundamentally EV and the charging for EV are just seen as just another asset plugging into the grid, right?
Okay.
And so the question just is, how much of that is coming around, and how much build out do we need at what point in time and where, right? Is there enough capacity to support that? The bigger question now that's starting to happen as we've heard of new ways of engaging between EVs and the grid, with vehicle to grid and backward feed of power for various ancillary services. The real question is now, what does the model look like on the utility side? How do they effectively accommodate that? So there are a number of pilots and demonstrations that are happening to really understand the way and manner it could look like from those pilots at scale, if you will, as far as, for instance, an EV, a set of EVs, a fleet of EVs, a community of EVs that are plugged into a charging hub now at some moments in time, feeding power back, right? And so building out the technology, the infrastructure, the software to support those kinds of engagements are the kinds of things the utilities are thinking about strategically.
And we were talking a little bit before we started about the fact that this is really based on relationship building that hasn't really existed in the energy sector, or even, and frankly, even in the automotive sector, basically ever. Because it's always been about, we sell you the product, done. Well, again, I mean, automotive industry to the dealer network, it's like we build the car, you sell the car. Next time we see you is for an oil change, or if you want to trade it in, or you want another one. That is because the ownership experience has been really, again, in the automotive world, has been engaged with the fossil fuel industry, and the automotive sector has relied on that. Utilities haven't had really a hand in that for automotive, obviously, but that's the new world, that's the new paradigm. But because of software and how electricity works, it isn't a set it, forget it relationship. It is, no, we're constantly communicating with you, especially if you're a homeowner. We can be engaged with you as a homeowner, despite, no matter what vehicle you buy. We could basically say, here's how we help manage your fill up to save you money, make it more convenient, all those factors. This is a big thing to unpack because we haven't done this as a society. This is brand new.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the cool things that I look forward to is just longer term, what happens with the recycling of batteries as they get to 10 years and folks want to let go of the vehicle. There's still value in that battery pack, right? Yeah. Both from a material standpoint, like, let's recycle all the lithium and all whatever else is in that chemistry or that pack. But then also from a marketplace standpoint, we've heard of setups, for instance, in Europe, maybe even here, where there's a player, I think it's NLX. They have a project where they gather used batteries across 3 different manufacturers, up to about 10 megawatt hours of energy capacity and 30 megawatts of capacity. That is now a play in the market. I think it's helping the Rome International Airport. I read about this some time ago. But things like that are happening.
Yeah, taking a vehicle's battery. That's I think the coolest thing is every car that's here that has a large battery in it, whether it is the lithium ion, the older chemistry or the new chemistry like lithium ion phosphate. These different. It doesn't matter what the chemistry is those minerals that are inside those packs. They don't ever go bad. You could basically pull those out and fully recycle them again down to the raw materials, or like you're saying, the second life component of a battery. It's like you can pull it out of the car and turn it into a battery storage facility at like an airport.
Yeah, so there's actually a great company called Electric Outdoors, and they're actually taking a Connex container and they're turning it into what they call a glamping facility. Oh yeah, it's really cool. I can't wait till they get these out to the public. Currently, they're still building them and trying to get people to put them on their land, but they're basically taking batteries, putting it into this Connex, putting solar panels on it, and you can take your electric vehicle, like my Rivian or a Tesla or anything, go out to this glamping facility, and now the Connex is your campsite. It's also your power station to charge your car while you're camping.
That is a great idea.
Great use.
What's their name again?
Electric Outdoors.
Electric Outdoors. We got to promote them, they're doing great things.
Hey, well, you're here at Expo and you're hearing about these companies that most people are like, wait, who's that again? What? But that's the cool thing about electrification and batteries in general is, we've all grown up with batteries, like children of the 80s and 90s of like, okay, my RC car, man, I played with it for 10 minutes and I got to go charge it up again. Our kind of conditioned understanding of how batteries work is they're there, but then we got to replace them. That's not, battery technology today is much more advanced. That's not how it works. We can recharge and then reuse in ways that are at a scale, like you were just describing, that people don't necessarily fully understand yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with all of this, I believe it's a matter of a perspective that is just needed, as users or potential buyers of EVs. Have this perspective, it maybe encourages more of that action. I was in an Uber just last week. She wasn't driving an EV, so I was curious, why not? I think she was driving a Honda Accord. So I asked her, and her concern was that, she's heard about it, she knows about it, has a friend that does Uber as well, but isn't as open to the experience because of some challenges they experienced, like cold climate.
Sure.
And the effects and the impacts of cold climate on the batteries. And then the other was a little bit of an economic thing where she felt like if she has to charge longer than it takes to put the gas in the car. Now she's missing out on opportunities to get that next ride that could be, I don't know, $1,000 to wherever. Right?
If you think if you think it's an hour or two to fill up, yeah, that could be a game changer for you.
Exactly.
But the cars that are on market today that are the most advanced, we've talked about this earlier, is like these cars fill up in like 15 minutes. So this is an educational component too. So we're kind of rounding things out, and just so people can get a chance to know more about you, what you're working on. How do people find you? How do they connect with you? How do they learn more about Kootanla? Like, how do they find out about it?
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity again, and Pedro, nice to meet you as well. So Kootanla, our website, it's www.kootanla.com. You can find us there, find me on LinkedIn, and we're happy to connect and just help you solve problems to drive towards a cleaner energy future.
So if you've been listening to this conversation, find Ladi on LinkedIn, Kootanla.com. This is going to be an ongoing conversation as the industry continues to grow. We're talking about in the last conversation, it's kind of like it's a Wright brothers moment, and we're kind of in that moment right now for where electrification's gonna go. Anything else you want to add, Pedro?
No, just thank you for the great conversation. It was good talking to you, and I will look it up and see some more information on you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you all.
Sounds good. All right, this is the EV Reality Check booth powered by GreenCars.com.